share a few words to you guys, because I think some of you must be curious why I categorize Buddhism into a theistic religion. So Buddhism does not believe in a eternal creator God at all, because Buddhism's perspective of law of karma as a cause and law of nature as a condition in the formation of this universe and its being clearly negates the existence of creator God. And Buddha's teachings of Prajna Paramita, which teach about the emptiness of samsara and nirvana as well. So that also explicitly demonstrate that Buddhism does not believe in eternity, such as eternal God, eternal heaven, a promise of eternal life, eternal self, and so on. So Buddhism's treatise on logic and Madhyamika text aggressively refute or deny the existence of eternal creator God. So by not believing in an eternal creator God, we cannot categorize Buddhism into the category of non-theistic. Because Buddhism believes in the existence of deities, which are the manifestation of enlightenment. So if Buddhism is non-theistic, then how would you explain about the Sambhogakaya deities, Nirmanakaya deities, which are the projection of Dharmakaya? So deities like wrathful deities, peaceful deities, Dakinis, Dharma protectors, and Mahayana's Maitreya Buddha, Amitabha Buddha, and all the thousands Buddha in the form of Nirmanakaya are also the deities. So we have to acknowledge that. And I personally think that we cannot judge the whole perspective of Buddhism just by one aspect of teaching. We cannot exclude the teachings of Mahayana and Vajrayana. Though it would sound liberal and rationalistic by calling Buddhism non-theistic, but we cannot hide the truth. We cannot just ignore the truth of Vajrayana and Mahayana's view, meditation, and attitude. So Buddha's teachings are very vast and profound. So he taught his teachings according to the people's mental capacity, their preferences, their tolerance. So we can choose the perspective of teachings that match with our understanding. But we cannot change the essence of Buddhism to match with our own understanding. So that's my personal view on, it's just my personal view, because like I think Buddhism should be called theistic, instead of non-theistic, which is non-theistic is agnostic that does not have any certain perspective on the existence of God. Okay, that was just I should call it clarification of calling Buddhism theistic Buddhism. Okay, so now let's start today's topic, which is on the Buddhist cognitive philosophy. So all the drama or all the story of this samsara, it starts from a dual conception. And dual conception is a judgmental mind that perceives and manifests two characteristics, such as like, dislike, joy, sorrow, positive, negative, success, failure, and so on. So now let's dig in the origin of dual conception. Our life is all about survival through the fulfillment of our wishes and needs without hindrance. For example, survival with life by fighting against the illness, obtaining our basic needs, luxury demands, and survival amidst success, fighting against the failure, and survival in relationships, fighting against the infidelity, and so forth. So in order to sustain our survival, we build two types of emotions in us as a defense mechanism. And those are expectation and fear. Expectation is to obtain, and fear is an insecure feeling of losing. And expectation, it arises from pleasure, passion, curiosity, interest. And that expectation is accompanied by a response of acceptance, while the fear is manifest from anger, sadness, guilt, disgust, doubt, emergence of protection, so on. And that fear is accompanied by a response of rejection. So psychologists defines emotions as a feeling that have both the physiological and cognitive element, and that affects our behavior. So there are 5 main emotions in psychology, as you know: joy, fear, anger, sadness, disgust. And in Buddhism, it categorizes emotions in the aspect of feelings, such as joy, suffering, neutral feeling. And Buddhism also identifies the emotions in terms of mental event, such as positive mental event, negative mental event, and a neutral mental event. And Buddhism also divide the emotions in the aspect of three fundamental destructive emotions, such as desire, anger, ignorance. And ignorance is considered the root of all the afflictive emotions and thoughts. Buddhism considers that discursive or harmful emotions and thoughts obscure or disturb our mind, and it causes unpleasant situations, and ultimately it will hinder the path to liberation. So that's why those emotions are called poisons or defilements. While in scientific world, mental conditions that are executed by extreme emotions, thoughts, and behavior that hinders the normal attitude is called non-psychotic psychological disorders. So non-psychotic disorders such as depression, anxiety, obsessive compulsive disorder, antisocial personality disorder, narcissistic personality disorder. So those are the mental conditions that are stimulated by the emotions such as pride, possessiveness, selfishness, heedlessness, lack of self-restraint, and ignorance that doesn't know how to handle the stressors, and so on. So Buddhist philosophy, it explains about the reality of phenomena, that all the existence are impermanent, unreliable, subject to change every movement. So that introduction help us to have full knowledge about the reality of phenomena. Sequentially, the practices of Buddhism also introduce us how to liberate ourselves from the afflictive emotions and thoughts, and to gain power on our mind to deal with the reality of phenomena. So let me give you an example of on a reality of a phenomena. Like when we get appreciation from the boss, it brings a great happiness in us. So we don't know that in subconscious, from that movement, we have already decided to protect that happiness, to increase that happiness by bringing improvement in our jobs, works, and expecting for more approvals in future. So that urge of protecting and increasing the happiness, we silently produce or yield competition, insecurity, doubt, jealousy, and hatred in us. And that destructive emotions trouble us in our life. So in short, once we approve something or someone as the cause of our happiness, then naturally the issues of security and insecurity arises in order to own that happiness, in order to protect that happiness. So that's how we trap ourselves by the bait of our own desire. Let me give you another example, simple example, that happiness, the happiness we get through the numbers of likes on our Facebook and Instagram account, that abducts our mind and make us worse than a puppet. Moreover, our uncompromisable ego won't let us to accept the failure and defeat in the battle of statistics of likes on Instagram and Facebook account. So that is just how we imprison ourselves. So that is the emotional imprisonment in a virtual world. So can you imagine how far we can go to protect our happiness in physical world? To what extent we can go to make our wishes and needs fulfilled? So we are the one who crave for the happiness, but we are also the one who don't know how to handle that happiness. So that is like the situation where we are the builder of jail and we are also the prisoner in it. So we human beings easily get conditioned by tempting stimulus because of our desire. But we should know that we have the ability to control our emotions and thoughts too by training our mind. We can adjust our emotions by analyzing on the nature of emotions, contemplating on the how emotions capture and exploit our vulnerable mind. We can practice how to switch from negative emotions to the positive emotions. And we can practice how to balance and rule over our emotions and thoughts. Being able to deal with emotional ups and downs, moodiness, and a negative emotional response such as aggressiveness, anxiety, is the most significant coping skill. So the cognitive effort to balance and understand the emotions and to regulate our behavior with that understanding will make a great difference in our personality and in our life too. And Mahayana Buddhism, it implies that the original state of our mind is independent, clear, free, peaceful, unpatterned, uncorrupted. Mind that has natural expression of love and kindness. That's why we are always in search of love and care. but we change that original state of our mind. Our society molds the original state of our mind by culture, creed, advices, and training us to be more aggressive and more competitive. So that's how we change independent and clear mind into rigid and dependent, so that it can fit right into the pattern of our society. So the natural mind is like our natural face. And emotions are like different styles of makeup, let's say. So we walk out covering our natural face with makeup. But if we recognize the beauty of our natural face, then we will feel comfortable enough to walk without makeup. Likewise, the goal of practices of Buddhism is to retrieve, to maintain that original state of mind that is not covered, that is not trained, and that's not corrupted or not stained by any conditioning influences. Okay, now let's move to the personality. So what is personality? Personality is the pattern of distinctive characteristics that produce consistency and individuality in person. Trait theories implies trait describes the personality, and that is the consistent characteristics and behavior as personality. There are 5 big personality in psychology: openness, conscientiousness, extraversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism. Antisocial personality disorder, in which individuals show no regard to ethics and moral rules and right of others. Narcissistic personality disorder, that is personality disturbance associated with the exaggerated self-importance and that expect special treatment from others. But at the same time, they have no regard to the other's feelings. So in fact, the attribute of narcissistic disorder is an inability to experience empathy for others. So people with apologetic personality that creates problem for oneself and in surrounding, they have little sense of their personal distress that is associated with the emotional imbalance. So it's our cognition, our understanding, our emotional state, and the environmental factor that plays significant role in determining personality. Buddha said that practitioner with the personality of having strong willpower and self-restraint can obtain temporary happiness and ultimate happiness as well. So due to that reason, by creating and maintaining positive emotions, regulating strong willpower, self-restraint can develop a positive and strong personality in us. So now let's move to the stress. What is stress? Stress is a negative response of individuals according to the outer and inner threatening situations, such as issues, unfavorable biological conditions, psychological or emotional problems, and so forth. So human beings' way of coping with the stress and problem are not uniform. The degree of stress, it depends on people, how they estimate and interpret the event. So it's individuals' interpretation of stressful event as harmful or helpful, challenging or threatening, and their determination. Rather, they have proper resources to cope with the stress or problem. As we know that stress is identified as a factor to cause unwholesomeness, such as weak immune system, cancer, cardiovascular disease, and psychological disorder, and so on. But the good thing is that positive emotions prevent us from illness, and that is related to the physiological and psychological well-being. Cardiologists describe that a common personality characteristics of people that develop coronary disease are the type A behavior pattern. And that are theorized as the characteristics of being extremely competitive, self-driven, impatient, hostile, and that is related to the incidence of heart disease. But the behavior of healthier group were relaxed, easygoing characteristics, and that are type B behavior pattern. So I think some people might think that without being type A behavior, we can't survive in this contemporary world of capitalism and power. But I personally think that without being extremely competitive, restless, hostile, we can even set a challenging goal. We can give our best. We can work diligently. We don't have to wait for the success, wait for the goal to celebrate. We can celebrate even from the process. Don't be restless. We have to enjoy our work. We have to work with passion, not with competition. So don't be hostile, because relationship and interpersonal skill is important for social being. So I think that power and capitalism is not polarized with humanity. Capitalistic employers can have good concernment about their workers' benefit and their lives. Capitalistic companies can provide employment for people. They can produce original goods that is worth with the price tag. To be honest and trust is also required in business. Philanthropists and developed country can help the needy ones. So if the powerful people, they know how to utilize their power for the welfare of others, then those powerful people can make a big impact on others, such as through encouragement, through messages, through management, and through support, and so on. So capitalistic humans have feelings too. They need love. They can offer love. As long as we live amongst the human beings that look like us, the language of humanity and love is understandable and applicable even in the capitalistic community or world. So now let's talk about the causes and mediator of stress. So let's think about what event caused the most stress to us in our life. Is it an environmental factor such as big problem like pandemic, war, natural disaster, accident, or death of loved ones? Or is it from our personal factors such as not having enough time for ourselves, having problem with kids, arguing with partners, divorce? Or is it from work-related stress such as not able to meet the high demand of job, overload of work, fear of getting fired, and workers' problem of benefits and securities? Or is it from a socio-cultural factors such as poverty, not able to adapt with distinctive cultural group, or facing discrimination against race, gender, culture in society, and so on? So those are the causes of our problem or stress. We can easily assume that people who oftenly complain and report about being anxious and unhappy all the time, and those people who look at everything from the negative angle, they are likely to have more stressful event in their life comparing to the optimistic people that keeps positive emotions and thoughts. So that's why we can say that our understanding, our attitude, and our personality plays important role in conceiving the issue. Okay, now let's move to the how to deal with or how to cope with stress and problem. So cope means to make an effort to reduce or to control or to learn to tolerate the threatening situation that leads to stress. So there are several ways of coping with stress and problem. The first way of dealing with stress is to deal with the problem itself, which is the cause of stress. For example, if we have a problem of loud noises from a neighbor, then we might go to neighbor and tell them about our problem. So in that way, we can solve the problem. But we have to be careful in solving the problem. Don't solve the problem selfishly. Handle the problem with full understanding, logic, and empathy. Even though we succeed in dealing the problem selfishly this time, but the attitude of selfishness will always remain in us, and that will create problem for us in our life. Now, the second way of dealing with stress is through cognitive method. So when we can solve the problem invade us. And this problem, it creates another problem, and that is called the mental stress. So to solve the mental stress, the first step is don't ruminate on that. Don't overthink when the problem is not likely to solve. Just take a deep breath in from nose and exhale out from mouth fully to get rid of the panic and uneasiness in us. Then calm down for a moment and give a chance to us our logical sense to work on it, to analyze on it. And think that the biggest asset in our life is the happiness and peace of our mind, isn't it? We live for it, we struggle for it, and we yearn for it. So why we disturb our happiness and peace of mind to achieve another happiness and another peace of mind? Or else we can think that problems are random and instant. It keeps on coming, it keeps on going. We cannot stop the problem and make it perpetual for us. So this shall pass too. Or we can use the analytical meditation here by rationalizing the problem, by thinking that because of the impermanent nature, everyone faces this kind of problem, such as death and separation and so forth. So that's why we have to maintain positive thoughts and emotions and look at the issue from brighter side. and take a problem as a challenge rather than a threat. Even then, our problem is not changing for us, then we have to change for the problem, which means we have to change our perspective towards problem. We have to accept the problem, and we have to stop being stubborn, and that is the point. Now, the third way of dealing the stress is imagination of positive and negative is an ideal method when we can solve the problem. Like negative imagination help us to prepare for this stressful event. And positive imagination help us when we experience the stressful event. Let me give you some examples on it. Negative imagination, such as when we think that I might face a work-related stress in future if I don't train my mind from now. Or if we think that I may encounter dangerous situation if I don't learn self-defense techniques. And for positive emotions, we can think that even though I have lost my money in stock exchange, but I'm happy that some people are benefited by it. Or we can think that I lost my favorite sunglasses, but I would be happy if someone finds it and use it. So in short, an ability to apply positive imagination and negative imaginations whenever and wherever it is needed in a particular situation is the best coping skill. Now, there are other ways of coping skills, such as a sense of commitment rather than alienation. For example, having strong resolution till we reach the goal. And other way is a sense of self-control rather than powerlessness. For example, to think that I can master this situation, I can produce positive outcome, and so on. So in that way, I have so far mentioned like numerous strategies, but I personally think that we may face a bit problem if we don't have command on our mind. So that's why we need a bit focus in self-determination. We need a sense of control in commitment to these strategies. So the meditation can help us to gain the concentration and self-restraint in us. What's the time? Okay, now let me wrap it up. So, so the implementation is more important than situation. So we might have heard from here and there about the strategies, and I know that we all have like full knowledge on the strategies, but if we don't apply it in our life, then we won't see the improvement in our life. So that's why the significant thing is we have to take a bold step, determined step toward these strategies. Even though our undisciplined mind refuse to follow these strategies at first, and if it lose interest in between, we still have to cajole our mind in a persuasive way, such as looking at the negative side effect and anticipating for the positive result to extract self-determination and commitment from us. Okay, that's it for the first section, and see you after 15 minutes break. Okay, enjoy your break.